Malai Joya, one of the bravest voices of justice and peace in Afghanistan. She is the youngest person to have been elected to Afghanistan's parliament and an outspoken activist against military occupation and for women's rights in her country. Last month, the U.S. denied her a visa as she was about to get ready to depart for the U.S. to start her nationwide speaking tour. With the help of thousands around the country, mobilizations from organizers and activists petitioning, including many of you, we were able to put pressure on the State Department, and now she's here on the final stop on her speaking tour, which took her through the tour took her through Northwest, the rebellious Midwest, and the West Coast. On her visit to the U.S., she has been meeting with U.S. veterans, legislators, Afghan Americans, unions, and community organizations facing the current economic crisis. In her book, she mentions groups in the U.S. that are organizing against the war, like Iraq Veterans Against the War and South Asia Solidarity Initiative. She points out the importance of such U.S. groups and calls attention to the need for ongoing sustained work on this front. So as we listen to Malai Joya speak today, I challenge you to ask yourselves, what is it that I can do to support the progressive groups and individuals in Afghanistan today? What is our burden of responsibility? Of course, first it starts with understanding fully the reality of this war, educating ourselves about the causes and the reasons for this war, learning about how this war affects the daily lives of the Afghan people. But the responsibility doesn't end there. It only begins. This war, the longest war that the U.S. has ever waged, has cost thousands of Afghan lives, lives of U.S. soldiers, and billions of dollars in U.S. taxpayer money. Last week, the federal government almost got shut down, debating over whether or not to fund Planned Parenthood, which accounts for only 0.008% of the federal budget. Women's rights in the U.S. are nowhere near the top priority for this government either. In the meantime, about 50% of our federal budget goes to military spending for the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere. Today, we have the unique privilege to hear from someone who can directly speak to the concerns of those on the ground that face the brunt of this war. The concerns of the Afghan people need to inform our resistance in the U.S. against the war. For those of us in the U.S. who know clearly the devastation that this 9-year occupation has caused in Afghanistan and what impact is here domestically, we began with acting on that knowledge. If we truly want to support the progressive and resilient people of Afghanistan who are risking their lives for freedom, our responsibility is to do all we can to put an end to these wars and occupations by our own government. This event today is organized by South Asia Solidarity Initiative and the War Resisters League. We're encouraged by the anti-war demonstrations this past weekend around the country and hope for much more. From public actions to education initiatives to more strategic alliances among immigrants, unions, and anti-war groups. The goal of the event today is for us to get an analysis of the realities on the ground in Afghanistan so as to better inform more effective solidarity with the people there. It is also the first step among many for us to imagine the best strategies for opposition to the war here in the U.S.